Rick will know. Yeah, that's right.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. If you can smell those amazing stroopwafels, you are welcome to help yourself to partake. They are homemade right here on the spot, so they're very, very tasty. And if you don't want to eat them, at least you can breathe them in a little bit. One thing I'd like to do first, introduce myself. I'm Christina Rogers. I'm with the Mangan Park Community Association. I'm Vice President and Communications Chair. Our President, Craig Rutledge, who's right over here, he takes care of the camera and the mics.
The audio.
And he also owns Vic's Ice Cream. So if any of you are familiar with Vic's Ice Cream, this is the guy to thank. Before we go forward, I just want to let you know there's a small mistake on our little agenda here. St. John's Program for Real Change, I sort of flipped two words, so it's St. John's Program, not Stain John's Program, which is kind of sad that happened. But anyway, so just know that if you're going to be looking them up online, it's St. John's Program. So what I'd like to do is let you know that our memberships are only $25 a year. So if you're not a Mangan Park Community Association member, you can become one. We have an e-newsletter, which is what you will be receiving in the mail once you become a member. Also, if you're interested in everything that we do, if you have any ideas about maybe joining one of our committees or coming and talking to our board about ideas or something, you are welcome to reach out to any of us, me, Greg, or any of our other board members. So tonight we welcome 3 speakers to discuss solutions to the homeless issues in our neighborhood. And we understand that there's no magic solution. And the homelessness are a very diverse group of folks. Some are out in the streets due to circumstances beyond their control. Others have made bad choices, and some are just a mix of both. We're not here to discuss the reasons why someone became homeless. Tonight we're here to learn about solutions that can help people get back into society. So first, it may be helpful to hear the point of view from someone who's been a homeless addict. Similar to those we see down at the street at the Broadway X corridor, many of these folks are considered service resistant, so he will share what helped him get sober and off the streets. I'm really, really proud that he came and decided to speak to you today. He's a leader in his neighborhood. He's a wonderful family man and friend, and so I would like to welcome to the mic Matt King.
You're welcome, sir.
Let's see here. Everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Hey, I'm Matt King, and I'm going to share this like a AA meeting. So, I got sober June 8th, 1997, and it was right during the time of Prop 36 and all that stuff where you got recovery instead of jail time. My story didn't involve getting alternative sentencing. I'd hoped for that on my last trip to the jail, but instead the judge asked me if I wanted recovery, and I said, oh yeah. And he said, well, it'll be there when you get out. And so I didn't have that opportunity, and my story is this: I'm glad I didn't. And you know, whether you want to call it God or a higher power or somebody different up there that's watching out over me, I don't think they had that plan for me as well. I don't think I ever would have got sober if, number one, if my mom would have kept throwing a pillow under my head every time I crashed and giving me food when I was hungry and things like that. The minute one day she said, you know, if you show up back at my house again, I'm going to call the cops on you. And I thought she was full of crap. And so I showed up, and I, you know, snuck in the side garage door when she was at work and grabbed a couple of her leftover Jim Boy's tacos. And about halfway through the first one, the cops showed up. And being the good addict I was, I ran and evaded arrest. that's not my whole story. So I was able to make it. I was homeless. I lived in a truck that didn't run. And I think honestly, I probably lasted myself, and it's not everybody's story, I lasted myself about 6 months, I think, on the street on my own, and then I got arrested again. And I think that time it was about 9 months or something like that in out at the RCCC in Oak Grove. After being released, I got released about 3 o'clock in the morning, and within 3 hours I think I was blackout drunk again. And so being sober 9 months in there really didn't have anything to do with me. I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted it now, and I'm kind of an instant gratification person. You know, I want that feeling of kind of relief that came from the alcohol and the drugs. So long story short, some other things happened in that drinking bout, and I had an uncle who was also alcoholic. He looked me in the eye and he says, "You need recovery." And I thought to him, you know, who the hell are you to tell me when you're drinking like a case of natural ice every day, and you know, I'm better than you. But when I went to court for that drug diversion thing, he had a lady in there that she was in charge of the Aquarian effort. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but it was a behavior modification program, and the effort still has a thing on J Street, I believe, but I think now it's run by the Indians. It's part of the Indian Resource Program. It was a 6-month program. Something scared me enough to call them, and at that time the waiting lists were like, I don't know, 6 months, a year to get into places. And so I called, you know, I'm like, to make my mom happy, basically. I go, "Oh, I'll call this place." And the lady says, "Yeah, come on in." And I'm like, "Well, don't you have a waiting list?" They, No, come on in." And I'm like, "Well, I got a check for like $1.37 I needed cash. I need to go like change the laundry." I had all these excuses because I wasn't expecting anybody. You know, I still wanted to get high. I wasn't like, okay, let's go right now. But I went, and I had some flip-flops with heels on about that high and a couple tank tops. My mom bought me like 6 pair of new socks and sent me away. And it was funny because I didn't realize where I was going, and I got there, and I used to actually work for a plumbing company directly behind where their volleyball court was. And probably 5 years or so before, I'd make fun of those people out there because I was like, and I was standing there playing volleyball, and I looked and I go, shit, I'm one of those people. Because I used to make fun of them because they were addicts and, you know, druggies, tweakers, whatever you want to call them. And so there was a moment of clarity, and I don't know why I stayed sober, but in 2 days I'll have 25 years clean and sober. And I'm here to say, if they didn't have, the one thing that I know that worked was the behavior modification. It wasn't that if people were bringing me things, like when I was out on the street, I got no reason to get clean because I have everything. Hey, you gave me food. Hey, you gave me some money, I can go get high. But if I had nothing, and I actually was allowed to hit bottom, which I did, and it was like quick, I would never be here. I would never be here. I got to meet my beautiful wife. I've got 4 grandkids now. I'm not homeless. I actually own 2 homes now. I got a boat and a couple other things, and those are just things, you know. But I'm rich beyond my wildest dreams. I used to joke. I work for Kaiser Hospital. I've got a ring of keys to that whole place. And I'm thinking in my head every day when they handed me those keys, do you know who you're handing these to? Like, I used to have a ring of keys, but I only hope that they fit something. I was, I don't know, the behavior modification thing that they had there was, you were accountable for your actions. You had to work. You had to help cook. You had to help clean. If you had mental health issues, they would take you to mental health through the county. If you had dental issues, they took you to the dental. They had their own medical thing downtown. But it taught me how to reacclimate into society, if that makes sense. And even after getting out of there, like, their thing was, after the 6 months, they wanted you to go into transitional living and kind of do another 6 months and stuff like that. But I mean, I didn't want to do that because, well, number one, I'm hard-headed, and I remember one of the counselors the first month telling me, he says, "You're not going to make it." Well, I'm an Aries, and I'll do it just to spite you. So, and I did, and so I got a studio apartment downtown, and I started working, and I started doing meetings. I started several meetings, young people meetings. I was 28, and even started one over at McKinley Park at the Clooney Clubhouse. I got involved, and I got back involved in life and giving back instead of taking. I know how to take very well, and I have to check myself sometimes still. You know, just because I'm clean and sober doesn't mean I'm perfect, because I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, Chris, and I don't want to take up all your time. I know that I do a lot of things, and I try to give back a lot. I help clean up our neighborhood. I try and do things for the park over there. I do a lot of stuff. My wife's actually now got 18 months sober from, so, and she was a normie, or what I called a normie, a person that can, whatever, but, COVID, video cocktails and all that. So, it kind of, might have got a little out of hand, but I don't know what else to say, Chris, but I know without follow-up, just giving somebody, hey, here's a hotel voucher for 14 days, it does no good. They don't have a phone, and if they do, they don't have a place to charge it. They don't have a car to get to any appointment half the time, and you guys try this yourselves if you want. Try calling the county or the city and getting into a homeless program. You can't even talk to anybody. Try getting on unemployment. You're not going to talk to anybody. I got declined for FMLA to take care of my wife during her surgery last month. And I'm like, I needed it. But, that's me. 8,000 prisoners can get it for free.
See you guys.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the next person we have is Miss Quinta Davenport, Director of Programs for St. John's Program for Change. Quinta, you can go ahead and go to that mic.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the realness that you bring to the table. So I'm Quinta. I'm actually the Chief Program Officer at St. John's Program for Real Change. And I've been with St. John's about almost 9 years. And I thank Matt because something that's near and dear to my heart is the humanity behind our homeless situation here in Sacramento. And I think it's really important to understand that people are people, no matter what our stories are. We all have a story in some shape, form, or fashion. And but that doesn't make us any less of a human. So that's why I appreciate you sharing your truth with us today. So I came just to share a little bit about St. John's and what it is. Little history. St. John's actually started on the steps of St. John's Lutheran Church 30 plus years ago. I was talking to some of the gentlemen over here a little bit about it. So The members of St. John's Lutheran Church noticed that they would have a lot of homeless individuals sleeping on their stairs. They wanted to help. They weren't okay with that situation, so they would bring people into the church, give them a place to sleep, give them some food. And so that's where our beginnings started. And even though we're not technically still under St. John's Church umbrella, that's where our beginnings started. And so over the years, St. John's has evolved because we've really realized that homelessness and really addressing the problem is much bigger than giving someone a bed or a meal for a couple of days. Like, to really resolve the issues has to go much deeper than that. So over the years, our program has really evolved into a program that's really comprehensive, that tries to address all the things that kind of led to people's homelessness, right? So just so you know, the population of people that we focus on are women and children. And so we attempt to really address all the areas that people are struggling with, whether that be financial areas, whether that be areas with parenting, whether that be SUD treatment, mental health treatment. Like, as people, we all are made up of many parts, right? So we all need things that address the different pieces of who we are as people, and the same is true for those who deal with homelessness. And so as a program, we endeavor to really fill in those gaps and really fill in those holes for people where they might be lacking in some areas. Again, that's all of us. We're all lacking in some area, in some way, right? And so St. John's is a very big organization, so I kind of visualize it. I'm a visual person, so I kind of visualize it as an umbrella, the St. John's umbrella. And underneath that umbrella, there are several different programs. So our primary program is our our employment training program. So that program focuses on, like I said, the many pieces of our clients, right? So it offers life skill classes that might be related to finances, might be related to parenting, might be related to developing healthy relationships. We have a wide variety of different classes. So we have classes. We have also an employment training program where the women can learn different skills to increase their likelihood of being employable. And the way we do that is through, well, we used to have you might have heard of Plates Cafe and Catering, so we still have plates, right? But because of the pandemic, we had to shift a little bit because the restaurant industry was very much impacted by COVID, right? So the major way that we shifted in that area is we developed actually cookie subscription business. At the time, we had a pastry chef on staff, so she was able to use her skills and talents to kind of help us redefine our employment training program. So today we have what we call Red Door Desserts, which is actually a cookie subscription business where the ladies make the cookies. They are involved in all parts of the business of cookie making, whether that's baking, packaging, shipping, logistics, customer service, right? There's so many different avenues you can go down when you're running a business, right? So we have our employment training section, we have our SUD treatment program, we have mental health services, like I mentioned before, really just comprehensive, looking at the women and children as a whole. And so specifically related to our children, we really try to focus on their social and emotional development, preparing them for, if they're not in school yet, preparing them for preschool, giving them the tools they need to be successful in school. And so that's our employment training program in a very small nutshell. So we also have a SUD treatment program, 90-day treatment program that we've been running for about a little over a year. And that program specifically focuses on recovery, right? Our other program has a recovery piece too, but it has all these other employment training pieces as well. The SUD treatment program is just specifically focus on your sobriety and your recovery, and we can help you do that. Our mission is to help you do that. So that's a 90-day program. And we also have what we call a mental health respite program, which is designed for women. If they have children, they can bring their children with them. All of our programs are for women and children if they have children. Our mental health respite program is a 7-day program designed for women who are experiencing some type of mental health crisis in a given moment in time. And that's a very general term because there are many things that can lead to someone's mental health not being in the best spot, right? And so women can call They can get assessed, kind of see what their situation is, and then for 7 days they can kind of step out of their situation that's causing them that mental health stress, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, figure out kind of what their next steps are after that, right? There's case management to help them kind of figure out, where do I go from here with this situation? And then this one is not as much related to our homeless population, but I kind of wanted to make you aware of it. So we also have, Matt was talking about the prison system. We also have a separate program that's designed for women coming out of prison to help them develop the tools they need to be successful at re-entering back into society. So all the women in this program have some time remaining on their sentence, but they are able to finish their sentence in our program. So this is different from the employment training program. It's a whole separate program. But actually there's 5 of those programs in the state of California under the arm of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. And so, just kind of like a side fun fact, those 5 programs has, I think, about a 3 to 4% recidivism rate in terms of women returning back to prison. So all of the programs really strive to focus on helping you overcome what got you to the situation you're in. And I think, personally, I think that's very important, right? Giving you a meal, giving you a bed, great in the moment, but it doesn't really help you to resolve the underlying issues, which I think are very important to address in our city, right? And so that's a quick overview of the different pieces of St. John's program. And so I often tell people, you know how you hear it takes a village to raise a child? I really sincerely feel like it takes a village to really solve the problem we're trying to solve, right? And I don't even like the word problem, the challenge, the issue we're trying to resolve. It takes all of us. It takes all of our politicians. It takes all of us to really figure out how to get through this. And so I know personally, I'm very grateful for the partnerships we have. Like St. John's does not do this alone. Like we have many partnerships with other people that are trying to solve this challenge too. So I'm very grateful for the financial support we have from our partners. I'm very grateful for the hands-on partnerships we have with our partners. Very grateful for the volunteers. Anybody wants to be a volunteer?
Maybe, Quinta, you can talk a little bit about that, how people can get involved.
So we have a very robust volunteer base at St. John's. So on the, I should have worn some of her cards. All right, so I have cards. You can come get my business card. I can give you my business card. But we have a volunteer manager, right, who kind of oversees all of our volunteers. So you come in, you do orientation, learn a little bit about St. John's. Everyone goes through a background check, and then people are welcome to volunteer in a variety of different ways. You might have a special talent that you would like to share with our ladies or our kids, right? You can volunteer in that way. You might volunteer in our kitchen with our children. Maybe office work is your expertise, right? You might be able to help out in that way. The opportunities for volunteerism are endless. Right? So if there's something on your heart that you want to share, we can probably find a space for you to volunteer. Does that answer the volunteer question, Christina?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? No?
If you don't now, like I said, I'll have my card. You can come talk to me. If something comes to mind later on, you can email me, call me. Okay?
We have one question. Where's the hand?
Oh, you found it? Thank you. Any other questions? Thoughts? Oh, you guys are quiet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have a gentleman coming up. We have, a lot of different programs and things and ideas and projects that the city and the county is working on. But one of the things that's been brought up to them several times is the Haven for Hope model. And we have a gentleman here, Chris Jones, and he's the president of Hope for Sacramento. And Chris is going to talk a little bit about the program, about how it could actually make a huge difference for what we're seeing on our streets today.
so I'm taller than everyone else that came before me. Okay, here we go. Can everyone hear me clearly? Yes. Great. So I don't have to introduce myself because Chris did it for me, but Chris Jones, president for Hope for Sacramento, and we are advocating for a proven solution to make a serious, a life-changing investment in our region and in the lives of people who are suffering homelessness. It's very similar to what Quinta was just talking about, except unfortunately we just 60% of homeless people are men. I know that women are, have unique challenges and dangers on the streets that, lucky for the men out there, they typically don't have to worry about. But we also see specific challenges for men. Everyone has their own challenges. And what we want to do is create this model where someone can get all of the services they need in one place. One of the things Matt was saying was that if you bring a homeless person to get recovery, for example, job training usually isn't at the same place. Mental health usually isn't at the same place. Building your relationships, all these things are in different places, scattered all over the city, and you're expecting somebody with no money and no car to go from Rancho Cordova to downtown Sacramento to Natomas to Meadowview, and it just doesn't happen. It's not real. So that's the problem that we're facing. I mean, we've seen over 100% increase in the number of homeless people on the street since they started counting about 10 years ago. We're up at around 5,600 now. I don't think the current point in time count has come up yet, but when it does, I guarantee it'll be higher than still. The rumors I hear are somewhere closer to 10,000 than 6,000, so that's the problem that we're facing. But the solution is following the model that they put in San Antonio, Texas. There's a facility there called Haven for Hope. It's built on 22 acres near their downtown, and it provides housing, it provides mental health, it provides drug and alcohol treatment, it provides job training. Nola over here is holding up a picture of the campus so you can see it. We'll put it up here after I'm done talking so you guys can take a look at it. But ID services, legal services, helping people get their stuff straightened out with the law. Everything that you can think of that you would need to go from I'm on the street sleeping under a bridge to I now have an apartment or a home and a job, they do there. And it's split into two sections. The first section is called the courtyard. There are no real obligations if you want to come to the courtyard. You just have to be homeless. And obviously you have to not bring any weapons or drugs on the campus, but other than that, there's no obligation to get clean or anything like that. It's just somewhere you can go, get some food, get a shower, have a place to sleep, store your stuff, because that is the initial touch point for a lot of people coming in off the street. A lot of people get picked up by the police down in San Antonio, and instead of taking them to jail, they take them to Haven for Hope, and they say, hey, like, would you like some help? Would you like to get clean? Would you like to, be placed somewhere? And they say, yeah, that'd be great. So they take them over to Haven for Hope. The other half of the campus is called the transformational campus, and that's where the magic happens. That's where they really have the concentrated services that all are in one place. Like I said, mental health, drugs, job placement, legal. But the commitment there is that you need to address the issues that are causing you to become homeless. And they move people through these programs, through the steps. It's a modular program in the sense of not everybody needs everything. So some person might need mental health, some person might just need a job, and they work through the things that they need, and they get them into housing. The housing retention rate for people who go through the HIM program is over 80%. They've placed well over 5,000 people in housing in the 8 or 9 years that they've been open, and well over 3,000 people in jobs that they keep. A lot of the people who didn't keep their jobs, it's because they got a new, better job. So, hey, there's nothing to complain about there. It's a program that, just speaking from the heart, we need it. Our current programs that were being proposed and funded and pushed by our city and our county leaderships, they're not like St. John's. They're not like the things that Matt said that we need. They're half measures, and they're drops in the bucket. We need enough investment. We need a real commitment that we can make a meaningful change in these people's lives, and make a meaningful change in the trajectory of our city. And one of the things that we need for that is the concentration of services, so that the money that we spend goes as far as it can go. And we need the concentration of services, and we need the capacity so that we can tell people, hey, it's not okay that you're sleeping under a bridge. That's not okay. It's not okay for you, and it's not okay for anybody else. Nobody wants this. And we can say, hey, come and get some help. And we need the concentration of services so that we can defend both these homeless people and our communities from the negative externalities that are caused when we just have unrestricted camping wherever people want. It's well known that drug traffickers and sex traffickers prey on the homeless when they're on the streets. It's not acceptable. It's not okay. And the half measures and the baby steps that we've been taking aren't going to get there. So what we need is this investment in a campus, that will partner with our existing homeless services like St. John's and Sacramento Steps Forward and everybody else. Get everybody in the same place, so that way we don't have to send people from Rancho Cordova to Natomas to downtown to Meadowview. They can get everything they need in one place. We have the example in San Antonio. It doesn't have to be a one-for-one. There are things that they do there that we're not going to do here. For example, when they started, they had people sleeping outside in the courtyard. They don't do that anymore because they realized it didn't work. So we don't have to take everything that they did, but the model works. Their homelessness per capita is down, I want to say, about 20% by my last check. Ours is up over 100%. So there's a roadmap out there for us. We just have to follow it. And it's going to take investment from the city. It's going to take investment from the county. It's going to take investment from us. And one of the things, I believe in this 100%. Actually, I take that back. I believe in this 1,000%. As many percent as you can come up with, that's how much I believe in it. And I hope I come across as sincere in this, because this is so important for us. And I'd love to see it happen, but we need your help. And one of the things that we need from you guys is to call your city councilman. Rick Jennings is your councilman now. I don't think he's here, but if he was, I'd pick on him. And I think Patrick Kennedy is your supervisor? Yeah, so I'd pick on him too if he was here. Oh, Phil Cerna, okay, yeah. So Cerna is my supervisor, so I give him a hard time whenever I get a chance. But thanks, Rick. But we need you guys to call them and write them letters and tell them we want a Haven for Hope style campus in the Sacramento region. We can't wait. We can't take half steps. We can't take baby steps. We can't put 100 tiny homes here. We can't have people sleeping in tents in our parks. We definitely can't leave people under bridges. It's not okay. We can't abandon these people to their fate. They're our neighbors, our friends, our family members, and we need to help them. And this is the way. We've seen it. It works. We can do it. Okay. Oh, I got some questions.
Look, I have a microphone.
So, if I recall correctly, the city made a site visit there, and with some city officials and members of the community. So, what came of that?
That's a good question. So, let me think. So, Rich Desmond on the Board of Supervisors went. Jeff Harris went. Bridget Dean went. Thank you. And a couple other, dignitaries from the city. They all went down there, and there's been nothing but positive feedback. I've spoken with Rich and Jeff both. They like what they see. They recognize that there are obstacles, just like I do. Obviously we need a place to put it. We're probably looking for about 30 acres, just given that our problem is worse than San Antonio's, because they invested in this 10 years ago and, well, we didn't. Coincidence or not, there just so happens to be about 100 acres down in Meadowview that the city just bought. Just saying, just throwing it out there. But the feedback, to answer your question, the feedback from our city dignitaries and county dignitaries was positive. Our group went there back in February, and yeah, it works. I met a guy, his name was Ron. and he told me all about how he was addicted to drugs. He was on the street, and he came through the program, and it worked for him. And he was so impressed that he came back to volunteer and help other guys out going through the same thing. So does that answer your question?
Partially, but
So some of the homeless places that have been developed, you read about them in the newspaper. I don't have firsthand knowledge, but like in LA, they were $400,000 a unit, $500,000 a unit in San Francisco. I don't know what the price here, but I think I remember seeing $300,000 a unit. So it seems like there's a bunch of money. So why isn't that being used for the San Antonio program?
That's an even better question. I wish I was in charge of the city budget, and I'd be able to tell you. But really though, our program is expensive too. I'm not gonna lie. San Antonio and the San Antonio project costs $100 million in capital expenses and about $20 million in ongoing operational expenses. That being said, it's actually a savings over what we're spending now. I remember watching Bridget Dean's presentation at the council, and they said they needed $32 million a year to keep the safe grounds that they have now open. So as far as why it hasn't been pursued, I'm really not sure. I don't know if it's because there's a reluctance to take on something from Texas, which is, a conservative state, and I don't know if it's if there's an investment in the housing first model where there really isn't like any accountability at all, where they should say, yeah, we'll just throw you in a hotel and you'll break the stove off to cook meth, and that's okay. I don't know. I mean, we have to press our electeds to answer that question and say, hey, we got to do better.
so what's your plan to bring them around?
Well, the plan starts with all of us here, calling our council members, calling our board of supervisors, and letting our neighbors know. If I could ask each of you to tell 3 or 4 of your neighbors about this, and if you think it's a good idea, let them know and say, hey, we gotta call Rick Jennings on this. We gotta call Phil Cernan. We gotta call Pat Kennedy and tell them this is what we want. Because ultimately, all these guys, they work for us. And if this is what we want and we want to try it, well, then that's what we want.
I have a quick question too. Well, here, I'll let Ignacio ask first.
Aside from asking questions of different elected officials and encouraging them, do you have a coalition or a web page or a place where people can go become a part of the conversation and have a united front?
Yes, we do. That's a good question. I should have said it. So yeah, our website is hopeforsacramento.org. So we've got some flyers from the Havenford facility on the table over there. Charles here has some of our flyers that will direct you there. So if you want one, they're here.
Want me to do something?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
So, make sure we
As you
have
mentioned, the
those.
city bought a huge chunk of land in Meadowview.
we did.
What is the intent of that land?
So
What is the intent of the land in Meadowview for the city?
That was granted from the federal.
right, so they bought it from the federal government. I know that there's been some of it earmarked for affordable housing. Actually, Jen's here, so she can kind of fact check me. I want to say it's about 25%. Yeah, something like that.
Over time, not initially.
Okay, see, that's why Jen's here, to call me out when I say something wrong. But yeah, so 25% or so over time is allocated for affordable housing. There's been discussion of putting other amenities there, but I think that's still kind of being in the works. I'd love to see 20, 30 acres of this reserved for a homeless campus for this, because one of the things that is on here is a medical, dental, vision clinic that not only serves the population on campus, but also serves the community. So there's a lot of low-income people in that area who could use some low cost or free healthcare, and it's something we can kind of meet 2 birds with 1 stone.
So Chris, people do have some questions about this campus, where it would be located, how close would it be to schools, neighborhoods, churches, the whole thing? Would it be out on its own? I mean, Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So there's a few criteria that make a good site. One is obviously space. Like I said, we need about 20 to 25, ideally 30 acres. Another criteria would be close to transit. We need people to be able to actually get there. So if, one of the solutions that was put out there was, say, like Boys Ranch or like Rancho Seco, and I'm like, well, that's like 45 minutes out of the city. Like no one's gonna be able to get there, so that's not gonna work. Campbell's Soup is not a bad suggestion. But that's one of the criteria. It's close to transit. That may mean like a bus line or a shuttle. It may mean the light rail. It may just mean somewhere where you can drive. But then a third criteria would be somewhere that is not in the immediate vicinity of residential neighborhoods, schools, churches, things like that. And fourth would be what I like to call defensible space. We need to avoid spillover of people who kind of are hanging around but haven't quite made it into the campus, because I've gone by the various like safe ground camping sites, and that's all I see. I see 3 blocks in every direction is trash, and it's unfortunate. So we need to avoid that. All those people, we need to kind of corral them in and encourage them to come in, but we also need to keep away people who are selling drugs or preying on people from people who are trying to get help. So those are some high level criteria. The Meadowview site meets a lot of those criteria. Campbell's Soup could potentially meet some of those criteria. There are some other locations around the city that meet those criteria. We're not necessarily married to one location. I just want it to happen so we can help these people.
Do you think of all the resources the city's currently spending from social services to mental health to fire to police, that would be worth the investment on a permanent solution to
Can you repeat that, Chris?
Yeah, so he was saying that when you look at all the things that the city has to spend money on, like fire, police, mental health, that the question is, I guess, is this a savings overall? And I would say definitely. The city of San Antonio, or actually Bexar County where the city is, they got back about almost a whole $100 million over the course of the time it's been open in cost avoidance in the jails, in the ERs, in the courthouse. The police department gets back about $2 million in overtime every year, where cops are actually doing cop things instead of driving people to and from homeless shelters or taking them to jail because they're sleeping on a bench.
This program sounds really great. I'm just wondering where our mayor and our governor and our council members are, because they seem to be supporting safe houses and not solutions. So I feel like, how can we even get something like this started if our people in government are not supporting it?
That's a good question too. So you're right. A lot of the people who are in charge of the spending money are focused on tiny homes or converting hotels and things like that. I have anecdotal stories. I haven't been in any of these home key hotels, but I anecdotally hear that people come in, they aren't ready, and the hotels get torn up. We spend millions of dollars on the hotels, and you see the fixtures all broken off and feces and who knows what smeared all over the place. So you're right. We are kind of focusing on the wrong things. As far as why that is, I mean, that I don't want to give anybody any bad motives, but I do know that there are a lot of people who make a lot of money, pitching solutions to the homeless. I'm a volunteer, so I don't make any money. I don't have any skin in this game besides the fact that I just don't want to see homeless people all over the streets here. But to answer your question, as far as how can we push this, we just have to be engaged. I mean, I know a lot of people, in the city, in the state, they're just tired. They want the same things that everybody else wants. They want to be able to live their life. They want to be able to take their kids to school, send them to a good school. They want to be able to pay their bills. No one is looking for a free ride necessarily. And they say, hey, like I want these things, and they feel like they get ignored, and they disengage. But we can't do that. We have to keep fighting the good fight, because if we disengage, then the people who either have a vested interest in keeping the problem going or just don't care enough to solve it, then they win. So I'd ask you to like I said, just keep fighting that good fight. Call Mr. Jennings, call Mr. Steinberg, and tell them, you know, and Mr. Cerna and Mr. Kennedy, and tell them, hey, I demand change, and our, you know, future DA over here. Yeah, I see you. And let them know, you know, this is what we need. Like we can't wait.
What?
No, I heard it. So she said, what other ways can we engage? Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Like,
Can you
yes.
comment on the funding for the building and for the operations, ongoing operations? How does that come, private, public?
Oh, well, yeah, they did. Okay, so so to answer your question, though, we really just have to keep the pressure on these elected officials. The biggest challenge for an elected official is embarrassment and shame. So, for example, if you called me out and said, "Chris, you don't know what you're talking about," I'd be real embarrassed. You wouldn't be able to tell, but I'd blush a little bit. So we've got to do that to them. We got to call them out and make it a big deal, make it a recurring issue. I'll give you a quick history lesson if you're familiar with the Roman Empire. So back when Rome and Carthage were fighting, Cato the Elder, he ended every speech that he had said, "Carthage must be destroyed." So we don't need to destroy anybody, fortunately, but we need to bring it up every time. Like every time we speak to our elected officials, it's like we need a homeless services campus. That's it. That's what we want, and we need it now.
And, you know, there's something to remember, too, with the Neighborhood Association. You know, our members, when they come and they speak with us and they tell us their concerns, those are things that we can also level up to the city. But you have all the power to go to the city, too. City council meetings, it matters. You make e-comments, it matters. You know, you talk at a city council meeting, they will listen to you, but when you come as a group, when you come as a bigger voting block, it makes a huge difference. They do listen to you. But you just have to keep hammering and hammering, like Chris said. They're not in person yet, no, but supposedly they're going to be happening soon.
That's what we need to do. Show them. That's the only way you get attention.
So I think we have a really good case study in the San Antonio, and so one of the big benefits of that is data. And I've talked to a lot of people who, you know, are concerned that when there's solutions proposed for homelessness, that it becomes a draw or a magnet to bring more of that problem to the city. So I'm curious what data you're aware of with San Antonio about the numbers have actually improved versus actually grown because people have come from outside areas.
That is a really good question, and I so happen to have the answer for you right now. So, so let me clarify one thing. So the numbers in San Antonio are stable. So they have about, I want to say 2,800 homeless at any given time. That being said, that number has been stable for the last 9 or 10 years. Their population more or less tracks with ours. So when you hold steady, on a per capita level, you're really decreasing. So let me think of a way to kind of sum that up.
I get it.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I mean, they've increased their population by, you know, several 100,000 people. Their homeless population is held steady. We've increased by the same amount. We did not hold steady. And ultimately, I'll say this: if we draw more homeless people to this region, and we're able to transform their lives and make them, you know, independent, self-sustaining citizens, that is a net benefit for us. We just need to make sure that we can, you know, we can move people through our programs and get people like, you know, St. John's and you know, everyone together and in partnership to make sure that we can rescue these people from the streets. And like I said, if we could do that, we're gaining. So yeah, like, okay, like once we have the pipeline in place, if West Sac wants to, you know, ship their people over here, well, we'll take them and put them up in our city and have them work jobs in our city and pay taxes here and be good, productive members of society.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, so we have 2 more questions and 1 comment. So.
Okay.
Hi. You may have done this already, but what's going through my head is, you know, money talks, obviously. and we're dealing with politicians, and a lot of times that's, you know, that's where their heads are at. I'm wondering if you've already gone to what might be some of your partner organizations to try to, you know, get a coalition of these nonprofits, you know, the folks that are going to provide services if you were to get this campus built. The hospitals, I would have to imagine, would be very happy to have the relief of the people that, instead of showing up at the ER, they're able to be triaged out there.
It's huge.
Can you speak to that?
I can. So you're 100% right. So yeah, first of all, yeah, you're right. Money talks. I have maybe like $20. That's why nobody listens to me. But you're right in the sense that one of our targeted organizations to help us pay for this is our medical centers, our hospitals, because you're right, they have a really serious burden of people just showing up in their ERs, and then they have to discharge them because other people have, you know, emergencies, and then we turn around and point them and say, well, you discharged this guy onto the street and you didn't do anything. Well, okay, well, we have people coming in with gunshots and stab wounds and things like that. We gotta treat them. This is not a hangout spot; it's an emergency room. So the campus in San Antonio, like I said, it costs about $100 million. 60% of that was funded privately through, private donations, businesses, corporations, into people with more money than me. And 40% came from the state, the county, and the city. Operationally, I want to say the split is about the same, where right now I think it's 60% public, 40% private, but that's because they got a lot more money during the pandemic, which kind of threw off the balance, but normally it's the other way around, it's 60 private, 40 public of that $20 million. So you're right. One of the things that we're working on is targeting those businesses, those hospitals, people that are impacted by it, and saying, hey, look, this might be something you want to get involved in. So again, I'll kind of throw out my bat signal and say, hey, like, if anybody, has connections with these people, like somebody who's a decision maker, just put the word in their ear. All right, I see you holding the mic, Jen. So.
Only when you're done.
All right, and I know Lindsay had a question too. I saw her raising her hand over there.
Same question that this lady had.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, excellent.
I don't care which mic I use.
Oh, okay. Well.
I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so the question was asked, how do we engage? And I heard two fine answers that are completely accurate. Okay.
All right, come on up. The floor is yours, Senator. Jen Holden, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Jennifer Holden, and I am the lead for the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association to your southeast corner. And Chris and I have been working for about 2 years on homelessness and housing together. So if you sense a bit of a relationship, there is one. So the question was asked, how do you engage to be more effective with the city, because the city doesn't seem to be responding well? Both Chris and Chris gave you accurate answers, but I think I can also give you more direct answers. So I kind of wanted to piggyback on what they already said, and if you've got one of your flyers here and a pen, you want to start writing. Because I'm a school teacher, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. So I'll give you a moment to get that together, and then I will just lay out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for you. I see people reaching for their pens, so I'm giving you time. I'm not going to rush you. I'm perfectly fine up here. The state has paid me to do this for almost 20 years. Where are your pens? Only today is that allowed. All right, I think most of the pins have come out. So, number one, you want to go to the website for Hope for Sacramento. What is that website, Chris?
That is hopeforsacramento.org.
And you have the option there to donate and get on their mailing list. So if you like what he was talking about and you want to support that, they need money and they need to stay in contact with you so you know what they're doing. and they will put you on their mass email list at the website, and you can support them with money, which money speaks to the city. The more they have, the more likely they are to get something good going. Yes?
Noah can talk to you. Noah, you can talk to this lady.
You're mine. So can she write a check? Because she doesn't want to pay online.
Okay, so well, I will defer that question to my secretary and people.
No.
Okay, so they're giving me the stink eye, so I'm going to take that as a no. So we're doing online.
Yeah.
Can she drop it off somewhere?
Why don't you guys talk with her?
Yeah. I think that would be okay, but I mean, that's like I said, I'll defer to the people who actually collect the money.
We'll work it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So Charles is going to talk to her right now, so we'll figure that out.
Oh, excellent. All right. So,
Are you guys
good.
finished?
Okay.
Anything else you want them to know about participating with your organization?
No, I mean, I think you summed it up really well in the sense that we really need your help. I can call the mayor every day for the next 6 months, and he probably will not take my call. If he does, he'll be like, "Yeah, Chris, that sounds great. Like, I really like what you got to say," and then he's going to do whatever he wants to do. Because I'm only one person, I'm only one vote. But if we each tell 4 or 5 people, and they each call the mayor, now he's hearing from hundreds of people all the time, and he's going to start feeling the heat. We've got to make that happen. We've got to be able to, kind of put on events like this. We've got to be able to get the word out, again, all the stuff Jen said. So we're really counting on you guys to help make this happen. If you like some of the stuff you heard today, and I feel like you do, then, just help us out. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Well, actually, there's more. So that's number one. If you like what he's doing, that's what you'd like to do. Number 2, become a member of this neighborhood association. There are other neighborhood associations in the area that are doing a lot of work on homelessness. We coordinate together, but your best access to those neighborhood coalitions is through this neighborhood in which you belong. So support the Mangan Park Community Association. They also, I think there's lots of room for your input in the community association. I can't say as a neighborhood leader myself that the city, bows to the neighborhoods whenever they speak up, but they listen more than they will listen to an individual. So working through the neighborhood association, you have a louder voice than you would on your own. Number 3, maybe you have a different view of homelessness than you've heard here tonight. There are other organizations in the area working on homelessness from different directions. If you want to talk to me afterwards, I can put you in touch with other homeless advocacy organizations. I do my best to talk to everybody. So, trust me, it's a huge issue across the city. When candidates for different offices ask me, what are the biggest subjects we need to address in the campaign? It was always homelessness and housing. Those are the 2 everybody wants to hear you talk about. So there are other organizations telling them the exact same thing, just from different directions. Once again, working through an organization, your voice is louder. Number 4, there were some words discussed about participating in meetings and e-comments and stuff. It's been a real problem for all of Sacramento to engage with their city council during the pandemic with the city council doors closed. Everybody's used to you just walk into the city council and wait for your turn at the mic to speak, and that's how you speak to them. So we've had over 100 years of that kind of a presence with our city council, and in the last 2 years that's been gone, and it was replaced with a website. Now then, the 3 of us spent a lot of time getting really good at working that website and learning how to use it. Where to find the calendar, how to go into the calendar and find the agenda, how to go into the agenda and look for the staff report. What are the important elements of the staff reports? Because some staff reports are 20 or 30 pages long. So, you might be interested in a topic you saw on the agenda, but by now you're either scared or worried and thinking it's time to go do something else because you're not going to make it. So there has been I hear people talk all the time about feeling disconnected and not able to get involved. I have a solution. It's not finished yet because I'm on my own little fundraising kick myself. I want to start up classes I call practical civics, because there's also a lot of these issues, like homelessness is actually more of a county issue. The county has had rather closed doors until just recently, and a website you're supposed to connect with them through. And if you actually talk to enough activists, you'll find out that state money is really important. We need to not only work at the city council and the county level, we need to work at the state level. So hold tight. I'm doing my best to give you access to that information, because if I stand here and just rattle off the words at you, it's going to mean nothing. You need to have a screen in front of you and be walking through it. And I will try to get a class started in the area to show you how to access local, county, and state governments through the website, and how to participate from the meetings without ever going into the doors. Because I think that part is going to stay. And that would give you more of a sense of access. And that would also give your organizations more of a sense of access. That you know how to get like a letter to the state legislature on a certain day. I mean, that's not something most people know. I learned it along the way so that I could talk to the state about some housing bills that have been coming through. So keep your ears open, practical civics. I'll try to get it going soon so that we stop this disconnect. And let me see here if I've got a number 5. Well, actually, there is a neighborhood coalition that has been meeting once a month that I have been attending, and we submitted a letter to the city in April with that very clear demand. Members of this coalition have been showing up at the city council meetings and commenting on that at the last agenda item, you know, items not on the agenda, and telling the city we would like a response to that, because they have not yet responded to any of the requests that we made. This coalition isn't so dedicated to a single concept as much as they are at this time towards encouraging community participation in their local city government. So that is what we are meeting about. That is what we're working on. We're trying to make it more accessible to everybody, and we are already talking to the city government about how they are actually excluding participation with some of their practices instead of making their decisions and their communications easier to access. We actually just call we're working on a final name and all of that, but we're just right now calling ourselves the All Neighborhood Coalition, because there are neighborhoods from every single city council district in Sacramento. So you know, districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all show up to the meetings once a month to talk about what they see going on, the common problems we have, and the common problem we all have is that it is so hard to communicate with the city, and we want them to make some changes. And you can hear that you know, school teacher me went, well, we also need a class for people. You know, if we're going to, we can talk to the city as a coalition all we want, but in the end, we need more of you. And so somebody needs to go out and help all of you gain access. And until I can get that put together, hopefully in the next couple months, Chris and the LPCA, and I don't mean to exclude the rest of the LPCA, by the way, Ignacio and Craig, but I know that Chris has been showing up to some meetings as well. They're your best access point for now until I can get a place and some funding, because places need money, and I can get that curriculum put together and to work for you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Chris Jones, and special bonus over here, Jennifer Holden from Mangan Park Neighborhood Association. As you can tell, she's a very active and informative community member. So when you go to our website, landpark.org, in the future we will be writing articles and posting information that will probably come from Jen in Mangan Park. Okay, we have a special treat. Somebody decided to stop by and say hi and give us a little update, maybe what's going on in the DA's office and regarding some of the things we've been discussing today. Ten Ho.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I want to give you an update on some of the things that we're working at from the DA's office. So, in the last year, reaching out and speaking to many different people in many different communities, and Jennifer talked about it. It's homelessness, it's homelessness, it's homelessness. And the Housing First approach, I want to make a quick comment on it. You know, St. John Church had this great program and asked the state for $1 million, and the state said no. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. The state said no because it wasn't even St. John that was requesting it. It was women who had their children taken away from them, and the courts were requiring that there was an abstinence program. And as a component of that, the state said, you know what, because you're requiring abstinence in a roundabout way, we're not going to give you that money. And that is a shame, because St. John and all these other programs, they do such a great job, and we need to fund them so that they can get people back on track again. So what are we doing at the DA's office, and how does the DA's office play or get involved in regards to our homeless crisis? There is an intersection sometimes between the criminal justice system and our homeless crisis, especially with mental health and drug addiction. So probably a couple months ago, the Downtown Partnership approached me, and I oversee our community prosecution team, and they said, you know what? People are getting released from the county jail in the middle of the night with no shoes, no services, they're homeless, and what are we doing about that? And so what people don't realize is when I spoke to the Sheriff's Department, when the judge says somebody gets released from jail or somebody must be released from jail, they have to be released within a certain number of hours, and sometimes that's in the middle of the night. So I brought together the Sheriff's Department, the Undersheriff, who's Jim Barnes. I also brought together the Board of Supervisor, Ann Edwards, who's the executive for the county, behavioral health, the Public Defender's Office. We had a meeting essentially in regards to this. And so what's being done is we are going to embed within the jail a behavioral health drug addiction counselor, so that before a person gets released who happens to be homeless and get released out on the streets with no shoes, no identification, no services, that somebody contacts them, does an evaluation, and if they want that services, they can get that service there. The other thing that we have to do as well, and I'm working on this, is creating a 24-hour reception area about a block away from the county jail over at 711 G Street. And the purpose of that reception area is to go ahead and have somebody who's released brought over there so they can meet with a person, get a temporary voucher for a motel, get wraparound services. And what we're talking about is getting what you call a warm handoff. Because if you're homeless and you get a slip to show up to an appointment a week later, do we think that person's going to show up? No. So the idea is to have a case worker assigned to that person to get them over there, to essentially take them there. Now, it's not going to solve the problem in every single case, because at some point we're going to have a level of required treatment. And part of required treatment in the mental health drug addiction aspect is the county, and you may not be aware of this, is going to open up a subacute mental facility. That's something that they are working on and have acquired the funds to do so. Because many years ago when the mental hospitals were closed down by Ronald Reagan, the idea and the model was to have people people get services in the community, but they didn't fund that. So we need to change that. The other thing that I'm trying to work on is this, and a lot of people here talked about it, a lot of people are doing and working in silos, doing different things. The city's blaming the county's blaming the city. One thing we need to have is to have what I would call a homeless summit and bring together, and that's what I'm going to try to do, to bring together the county, the city, community-based organizations, NGOs, law enforcement, the Public Defender's Office together, so we can sit down in a room, because it's harder to blame each other when you're sitting across the table, but to be able to come with a cohesive, not only a short-term plan that you're dealing with, not housing, but shelter, right? And then the long-term plan of what you're talking about, Chris, because we need to approach it on the short, middle, and long term, and not just have a temporary fix that really doesn't work, doesn't address the underlying issues, and does not address the overall long-term program. So that's something that we need to do, and I am going to keep pushing for it. And I think that the district attorney has a unique position and a pulpit in order to bring those entities together, because we do have the criminal justice system at our disposal to do so in many different ways. We also have the ability as well to file actions nuisance actions, both civilly and criminally as well. We have done so in the past, and we also are involved, obviously, in the criminal justice system. So those are some of the things where I think we're in a unique position to bring everybody together, because that's what needs to happen, because everybody is coming up with these great plans, going and visiting these things, but what's happening? A lot of conversations, a lot of talking, and a lot of money, but where are the end results? Where's the transparency? Where are the benchmarks? Where is the data? And what are we doing? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. Okay, everybody, that's it for the evening. Thank you very much. There's still some stroop waffles here. If you'd like to take some little packs home for $5, hand them to your neighbors and your friends, and we hope you get home safely. Also, remember to look at our website, landpark.org. You can see what's going on, and you can also become a member. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much.